Hello, Flosstube. It's Valerie at Stitching in the Barn. This is my little channel about cross-stitch and quilting and life and farm living and bees and whatever else I feel like chatting about, I guess. But mostly about crafting, because I love to do all kinds of crafts, rug hooking and embroidery and all kinds of things. I guess it is really primarily cross-stitch that I feature, but someone asked me one time and said, what is this channel about? Because I guess I talked about other things. And I said, well, it's really just whatever I like, and I hope you like too, or I hope you learn about something that you didn't know about before, or whatever. Maybe it's a channel for enabling all things crafty, something like that maybe. So anyway, how are you all? I hope you've all been well. I've been busy. I have a new camera sort of setup thing here, so we'll try this out and see how this works. The first thing I want to tell you about is that we had my daughter's graduation party. She was kind of a reluctant graduation party participant, but her dear little friend that she's known since second grade, been best buddies with in second grade, said, would you want to do one with me? Because I think the two of them together, they're both a little bit on the introverted side, so the thought of having all that attention on just them was too much. But I thought, you know, they thought that if they did it together, it would be more fun that way. So that's what we did. We combined forces, and I think it was a big, oops, there goes my notes. I think it was a big success. I think the kids all had fun. I think my daughter had fun. Her friend had fun. My daughter's friend's mother is super organized and had given a graduation party the previous year for her older daughter. So she had kept a whole folder of notes of where they'd gotten the cake and who they used for the food and how they did the setup and different things like that. So we had all that to work from, which is a huge help. And then I was sort of put in charge of some decorations, so I had some fun with that. I went a little overboard at times, but you know, I think when we went to the hall to set up the day before, my daughter's friend and her mother were like, wow, you've got a lot of decorations. And Yoni's whispering, my daughter's whispering and saying, you know, this is me reining her in. So I guess I had a lot of fun with that. I can show you pictures. You know, we decorated a place for them to do selfie pictures with funny little masks they could hold up if they wanted to pose with them, and some of them did. We set up a ping pong table in the back of the room. They could play ping pong, and we had all kinds of games for outdoor. Although it was pretty hot and nobody really ventured outdoors much, but we had frisbees and paddle tennis-y things for outdoors and ladder ball. And I had put flowers on each table, and I made these banners. The school colors are green and white, so I just, you know, had made these banners. So we just had white tablecloths, and then the tables all had these banners hanging on them. What else? I can show you pictures anyway. It was fun. We got balloons. Actually, did you know there's a big helium shortage in this country? It was touch and go whether we would have helium balloons or not, which was kind of tricky because where we were holding it, the driveway is kind of confusing, and I wanted to have balloons out at the end of the driveway. But the place where we usually get them said, you know, you better call us a day or so ahead of time to see if we're going to have helium, because apparently it's used in some medical procedures or research or something. I'm not sure exactly, but it goes obviously to the medical needs first, and then there were some secondary uses for it, and then third and last, of course, is just for fun. So they had helium though, so that was fun. We had our balloons out at the end of the driveway and some in the hall, and I brought some of them home. They're still puffed up even a week and a few days later. So that was very exciting, and the next thing that was exciting that happened this week is that my husband managed to hatch 4 butterflies. He saw the caterpillars, I guess, on the dill outside our house. We have like a little kitchen garden with herbs just outside the back door. And he saw them, and he knew that last year there'd been a big old Mr. Toad sitting right there waiting to catch them and eat them. So he thought, I'm going to rescue these and see that they hatch. So it was funny because I had been assembling things in the barn that I wanted to use for decoration or things I was making for the party. And I had these 2 great big jars that I used to keep sugar or flour in, about this size. And I had washed them and put them all out there. And I went out there and I was like, there's a jar missing. Does anybody know what happened? I had these 2 jars all clean, ready to go, because the little masks they use for the selfie station were on sticks, and I had filled the bottom of this one jar with colorful pebbles, and then I had put the sticks in, but I wanted a second jar because I thought they were too crowded. Anyway, my husband looks a little guilty and he goes, hey. I'm like, what? And he goes, I took one of those jars, they're hatching my caterpillars. So that was funny. I'll put some pictures in, but they were successful. All 4 of them hatched, and we released them all. And so these lovely butterflies are now out in the wild, and the party was fine with just 1 jar of selfie sticks, you know, really, honestly. So. That was good. And then Saturday was my birthday, and I have to tell you, my little pals, Lost and Floss, Barb and Leanne, did a big old shout out for me on their station and on their Flosstube channel, and I got tons of happy birthday wishes, I think from people who don't necessarily watch me but just watch them and came over to say hi, which was very, very cute. Not only that, but they also sent me this very cute card, and I'm so happy that they're my friends, and love having spent time with them and feel like we're close even though we are, you know, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. So that was a big thrill. And then it was funny because I walked in, and my husband always will do some sort of theme for the birthday party. Well, the theme was butterflies. Which was a funny coincidence because my sister just happened to have given me, I don't know if you can see it or not. I will insert a picture, but hold on. This stained glass butterfly. So I walked in the dining room for my birthday party, and there's this stained glass butterfly hanging from the chandelier over the dining room table. There are all these cutout butterflies all over the table. Very cute. My husband, this is typical him. He loves to, like, this was his birthday card to me. It's a little turtle. Where was I? I think I was saying about my sister gave me the stained glass butterfly, which was a funny coincidence. She had no idea that my husband was doing that whole theme or anything, so that was pretty neat. Dee. Coincidence? I don't know. Great minds think alike, I guess. And one thing she gave me too, which I thought was really cute and I wanted to share with you, was a Save the Stitches. She's very good at finding Save the Stitches, and I'll have to show you a whole collection I have of things she has given me in the past, but this one I thought was very sweet. I think she found this in a thrift shop, and it's got this lovely little homemade frame, I think. And it's got a little heart, which is all beading. It's done on a very coarse linen. And these are like little Bargello stitches down at the bottom. I just think that's darling, and I can have that out for Valentine's Day, or I can just have it out just love. But I like it. I thought it was very sweet, and I'm very pleased she gave that to me for my birthday. I'll show you one other one, just a fun flash from the past, which I would like to put out at Valentine's Day that she had found a long time ago. But I need to clean it up, and I would like some advice if any of you have washed older linens. I've heard various things, cold water and a little tiny bit of ivory dishwashing liquid. I've heard, you know, just rinse. This one has some staining. I don't want the stitches to run, but I thought that was really cute with the little cherubim at the top. it says, friendship, the sweetest flower in memory's garden. But I thought, wouldn't this be fun to put out at Valentine's Day as a sort of backdrop to some other little smalls? So that's another one that she did save the stitches on. So we can have some fun with those in the future. And the next order of business is that I have hit 3,000 subscribers. Yay! Thank you all so much. And because of that, I want to do 3 giveaways. So I'll show you what they are. The first one is going to be Antiques, Locks, and Keys by Shakespeare's Peddler. This is the one that Leanne and Barb of Lost and Floss are going to do a stitch along come September with this pattern. So if you would be interested in this, say locks or keys, locks and keys, or just, you could just say keys, and you would win that one. The next giveaway I have is coming courtesy of Lila, from Lila's studio. It's Lila Umstead, and I hope I'm saying that right. I hope it's not Lila. I heard someone else say that one time, but I think it's Lila. That's how I would say it anyway. Lila's studio. She's actually local to me. She doesn't live far from me, which gives me a secret little thrill every time I think about it, to have such a fabulous designer living so close. Anyway, she was very, very kind, and I had ordered some of her season patterns. I have the winter one already, but I had ordered summer, spring, and autumn. I just think they're gorgeous. I'll show you quickly. Summer, beautiful. Spring, beautiful. Autumn, beautiful. And so is winter. Anyway, she gave me an extra summer. So one of you can be lucky and win this. So there's the pattern. It has a kind of a fractory Pennsylvania Dutch feel to it, which is very much her style. And I just think it's gorgeous. And so that will be number 2 option. So you could say summer, if you're interested in that one. And then the third one is a Scarlet House pattern. It's kind of Halloweeny in coloring, in tone, autumnal anyway. It doesn't have to be Halloween, but it's called A Coverlet Court. I think it's the newest one in the series that I love. The, what is there? There's Redware Road and Stoneware Street, and this is Coverlet Court. So these are the woven coverlets, which I love. I'll have to show you one I have, a sort of antique-y one that I have sometime. But anyway, that's the feeling of this, and it's Scarlet House on Coverlet Court. So here are the 3 choices again. Locks and keys, so you'd say locks. Summer seasons, so you just say summer for this one. And coverlet for this one, if you're interested in that one. And I will pull 3 winners from that random winner generator, YouTube generator. If I get myself organized enough, I'll film the actual choosing, but otherwise I will just announce the winner. So I will pick a winner for each one, and I will announce that on my next video. So I'm excited about that. And 3,000, that's fantastic. Thank you all so much again. I forgot to think of a question for you to answer. So I think my question, if you would like to be entered in the contest, my question is going to be, how did you celebrate your last birthday? So tell me how you celebrated your last birthday, and then say either of the 3 patterns, the locks and keys, the summer seasons, or the coverlet court, and you could be entered to win one of those patterns. And you should be a subscriber and like this video, and don't say anything about winning or contest or, you know, free. Don't say anything like that. Just put the code words, and then I'll know which one you wanted. So good luck, everybody. Speaking of luck, I won something from Priscilla and Chelsea, which I'm just thrilled about. It was a Sue Hillis pattern. It's actually a kit, a Halloween pattern with little witches' hats to put on sleds, which looked adorable. So thank you. Thank you, Priscilla and Chelsea. It should be winging its way to me now. So these contests are a lot of fun, and I hope you all enter, and I hope that if you don't win now, you win the next time. Because I plan to do some other giveaways. I have some other duplicate patterns and some things I've been collecting, so I'm going to keep on with this as best I can. Anyway, what else? I've had a couple questions. Somebody asked me again, what is a fractor? And just very briefly, a fractor is folk art. It comes from the phrase fractured, as in fractured writing, fractured calligraphy, because apparently the old Latin script that all the Bibles were illustrated in was all that sort of italic, connected letters. And then, particularly in Germany, they started doing this style of lettering that, like, the part of the top of the T was separate from the bottom of the T. It was fractured. It was, you know, not connected. And I've got a couple examples over there. If you hang on one second, I will go pull them. I live in a very Pennsylvania Dutch area of Pennsylvania. That sounded funny. But very strong ties with the Mennonite community. We're a little bit farther east than a lot of Amish farms, but there are Amish people around, but it's mostly Mennonites where I am. They have this huge, strong tradition, as do the Schwenkfelders and other religious groups, of doing these beautiful Pennsylvania Dutch drawings and fractors. And for instance, this one was just created in 1980. This was done for an opening of a real estate office. You know, people around here will still commemorate things like that with these beautiful fractor drawings. So, whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye also unto them. So, look at this. It's just on sort of watercolor paper. Here's a perfect example of the fractured letter. Like, the W is not connected. It's in separate pieces. The H, that is actually connected almost like an italic letter, but it is separate. But that's a typical example. And then all the Pennsylvania motifs, the distelfinks, the tulips, the hearts. It's all very typical stuff. What is that up there? It's the alder fir seal, which is a good Mennonite name, alder fir. So there we are. And you find these designs, they used to give them out as rewards of merit. I know that the whole Blackbird Designs girls did a whole series on rewards of merit and pin keeps and things, and that's what the schoolmasters would do. There's a great book by that author I talked about in the past, children's author, Marguerite D'Angeli, called Skippack School, and Skippack is a town very near me. And it was all about the schoolmaster Christopher Dock, who would hand out rewards of merit to the children that did well in their studies or did some kindness for others. And so they would commemorate births and deaths and marriages and opening of offices or new businesses and things like that. And these sort of certificates would be drawn, or you could see it in embroidery, you see it paintings. It's just a style of folk art. So anyway, that's what fractors are. And you know, I bought that pattern when I was out in Ohio, Fractor Friends by Shakespeare's Peddler. So that's what Barb and Leanne and I, Lost and Floss, were calling each other all weekend. Fractor Friends. We just like the sound of it. It was just silly. So anyway, that's what a fractor is. Somebody else asked me what a pin stitch was, and if I can get myself organized, will try and film that for you. I know 100,000 people have shown this before. Maybe I can just do it quickly here. It's a way of starting your thread when you're using variegated floss. If you're just using DMC, you can do the loop method. Instead of taking 2 strands of floss, you would just take 1 strand of floss and make a big loop and thread it with the 2 ends so that when you pull through to do your first stitch, you're leaving a loop which you can catch your needle in and pull tight, and that anchors your thread. And there's a way to do that so that the loop starts on the top. You don't even have to flip your work over. And people have shown that. And the pin stitch I like for when I'm using variegated floss, but I have an isolated stitch. Like if I just have to do one eyeball and it's using variegated floss, or just a couple little stitches that are floating somewhere in a sea of linen, I want to be sure to anchor that, but I don't have anything I can run it through, so I will use a pin stitch. I actually use the pin stitch for all my starts pretty much. So here's my little well, here, I'll fold done. These were my notes, what I was going to talk about, but anyway, it's not a secret. Here, pretend this is your linen. You would normally come up here and go over there, and then come down here and go over there. But with a pin stitch, you come up in here, the very center of your over two, and then you go down here. So you've created half a stitch. Then you come up here, and you come back down in the center again, creating one full half of a cross stitch, but in two steps, down, around, over, and back in the center. So come up through the center, go down the bottom left, come up in the upper right, and go back down through the middle. Then you go from here to here. And it is amazing how that anchors your thread. Like, it just, I feel totally secure doing one tiny little stitch in the middle of nowhere using the pin stitch method. It's like, revolutionary. It's just, Vonna Pfeiffer is the first person I heard talking about the pin stitch. And I was like, oh, I remember somebody showed me that years ago, and I never really understood why or what you would use it. You know, now I'm like, all that trouble I could have saved myself. Many, many years of cursing it when I had, you know, just one little stitch to put somewhere. But anyway, live and learn. So that's the pin stitch. So those were my two questions. I do have some haul. Fat Quarter Shop was having a little sale, so I bought a couple little patterns. Let me see what I'm going to show you. This one I couldn't resist. Whoops, bang, sorry, bumped my elbow. Farm Life, Little House Needleworks. I'm sure you've all seen that. Thought that was very sweet. And this one I could have sworn I already had, but I looked through my things, couldn't find it. So I got Abby Rose Designs Yuletide on Thistle Hill. I've always really liked that one. I thought, why not get it now? And then the third one I'm going to show you is this one. This is a newer one from Little House, and I just thought it was so cute. Suffrage Act. Vote 1920. Suffrage Act proclaimed. It's extraordinary to me to think that in my grandparents' lifetime, you know, I grew up with my grandparents, so I was very close to them, to think my grandmother, who was born in 1896, you know, was 24 before women were allowed to vote. It just seems extraordinary to me, but there you go. So another thing I'm thinking about that I'm going to do is a feature I'm going to call Flash from Stash from the Past. I think I had been sort of thinking about doing something like this anyway, and then Cheryl had got the idea of getting the 10 Flosstubers together who were going to do designer showcase. Maybe it was 9 Flosstubers did. I know Homesteading and the Homefront did it. CraftyCat Stitcher did it. A bunch of other people did it. To Die House did it. Kathy. And it was a neat project. It was each Flosstuber picked out 3 designers they felt maybe needed a little more attention, or were older designers who had sort of got lost in the maelstrom, or is that a word? Got lost in the lost in the chaos of all the new designs coming out. Anyway, sometimes my mouth gets ahead of my brain. And vice versa. Anyway, I love that, and it was really a great series to watch. I hope if you haven't seen them, you go back and watch all of them, because you see designers you may have forgotten about, or patterns you hadn't seen before from that designer, or designers you never heard of. And I thought that was such a great idea. So my idea is to go into my stash, and I've got my patterns organized. Currently, I change things around quite a lot, but right at the moment I have them organized in categories. So like I'll have all the Christmas together, all the autumn, Halloween together, I think I have a category for patriotic. I have a category for spring, summer. I have a other category. I think I even have a seasonal category, anything that's like a series of patterns like spring, summer, autumn, winter. And so what my plan is to just go out there to the barn and just pluck out a pattern without looking, just reach in the bucket and pull one out. They're mostly in baskets, but and highlight that, show it to you and see what you think. So that's my thought. I have to go out there and get one to show you. It's hot today, folks. It is so hot. On my birthday, which was the Saturday, it was the hottest day. It broke a record, and the previous record was actually from, let me get this right, 2012. But before that, the record had been 1932, I think. So it's been a long time that July 20th has been that hot. And it's a little cooler today. It's very humid still. The sun is shining. We're supposed to get a big thunderstorm later. But right now, anyway, the sun is shining and it's very humid. It's 10 degrees colder today, colder being a strange word to have used. 10 degrees cooler today than it was yesterday, although it is so humid it feels hotter. Tomorrow, it's supposed to be even 10 degrees cooler than it is now, I think because the rain is supposed to cool things down. And then once we recover from the rain and get over the humidity, I hope, we are supposed to be in for some nice weather. I think we're going to have like mid-80s, sunny, hopefully breezy. So I'm really looking forward to that. I do have some work I need to do. Like I really need to clean up the barn, my sewing area. I need to clean up the garage. I need to clean up the attic, but I can't do that when it's so hot. It's funny, I had this little pair of scissors with a sort of rubber handle that I was using to make some of the crafts for my daughter's party, and the rubber part of the handle had melted. They were out in the garage and they had actually melted. So I was thinking, oh no, I hate to think about my sewing machine, which is out there. I haven't been using it when it's this hot, but I wonder what it's going to do to it. I know you can't use it when it's too cold. You can't use it when it's too hot. I'm like, oh. So anyway, I had two other patterns I wanted to show you. I saw these on Jen's Stitching Niche, and they were Brenda Gervais patterns I had never seen before. Maybe they're old news to you, but to me they were brand new and very exciting. She sent me this cute pattern. It says, say aloe to my little friends. It's little aloe cactuses. As a thank you for ordering from her. But here's the first one. It's called Heart in Hand. And it is Brenda Gervais. Which way should I hold it? This way. Sorry about the glare. Hands to work. Hearts to God. I love that. I've always loved that phrase. So I thought that was very pretty. I don't know if there's a date on that. I'm trying to hold these up longer because last time it's 2017. So you probably have all seen these 1,000 times. I don't know what rock I was living under, but I never remembered seeing this one. So, so much for there being old patterns. Well, this one's 2014. It's called Sampler Hill, and I thought this was really sweet. I love the border. I love the house. I love the birds. I love the beehive at the top. I love the Ohio star in the middle and the floral things. I thought that was cool. So, thank you, Jen. She has a big chart she holds up who's enabled her. I'm like, ha! Well, you do some enabling yourself, my friend. And here's one last thing. I keep saying that, and then I keep going on and on and on with more things. But I got this from eBay. I don't know if I'll ever do it, because it looks like it actually would take longer than you would think, but I thought it was cool. It's P. Buckley, let me try that again. P. Buckley Moss, Solitary Skater. I thought that was really fun, and I love how the lines of the trees and things crackle and come through to the outer part of the frame, like almost like the ice is cracking. I thought that was very cool. P. Buckley Moss, you know, does a lot of those Amish seasons. The pattern, by the way, is huge. It folds out like this. It's a little daunting. But when I look at it, it doesn't... There's quite a lot of changes in color, because that's how you get the moody winter sky, I think. You know, if you look closely, it's got a lot of yellows and blues and grays and things in there. So this may be one that I dream of doing. I don't actually ever get around. I don't know. We'll see. I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. Well, let me go out to the barn, and then I will find save. What is it I'm calling it? Flash from Stash from the Past. Okay, hang on. Okay, for my first Flash from Stash from the Past, I pulled out Little House Needleworks Orchard Valley Quilting Bee, an oldie but a goodie, and I am going to change the names to be Effa and Fanny, who were sisters, my grandmother and her sister, and Florence and Mary, who were my dad's aunts. In a previous video, I think I told you that my dad's family in Ohio, he had these two maiden aunts who were prolific quilters. They were extraordinary, and they made hundreds of quilts, and so I thought that would be appropriate. There's funny stories about them. They're both very educated women. Did I tell you this in a previous video? I'm not sure. But they still had that small town thing going where they, there's a funny story about them, which is that in the newspaper it said desk for sale and a phone number, and they spent all afternoon going through the phone book trying to figure out who was selling a desk. Like, who's selling a desk? Why are they selling the desk? Are they moving? Are they making room in their house for something else? Why would they be selling a desk? You know, just, you know, a little too much interest in somebody else's business. But, you know, there are great stories about them, and they were very kind and very generous to all their nieces and nephews. My dad was one of 12, and they made sure all of them went to college, and just, you know, it's fun to think I'm going to put them on my Orchard Valley Quilting Bee. So that'll be fun. I'll think of Ohio when I do this. And that's my first one for the Flash from the Stash from the Past. So each time I do a video, I'll pull something else out that, you know, I've had in my stash for ages that I've meant to do years ago, never did it. I don't know if I can see a year on this. Let's see, I even had to kit it all up with the floss. Well, this model was stitched by Vonna Pfeiffer, what do you know? So it's not that old. 2013, it's not even that old. But I'm sure I've had it since 2013, so. Quick on my fingers calculations, that's 6 years. So next time I hope I pull something that's really, you know, old Flash from ancient stash, but we'll see. I mean, just whatever I get. That's what I've decided, that whatever I pull out, I'm just going to reach in the basket and pull without looking, and whatever it is, that's what I'll show you. One more thing I want to show. Well, no, several things. I lied. I did get my next Dying to Stitch. This one is the Quaint Country Ladies Club kit. So it's a Christmas time sewing roll. And you know how they come, they give you absolutely everything you need, all the finishing fabric, etc. But it's a little sewing roll, Christmas time sewing roll with the Santa Lucia, Saint Lucia. I don't know how you say it really, but you know, Sweden, they wear the crown and they bring the morning rolls to the mother in bed. Anyway, that will be fun. I think that's very pretty. Let's see if I can show it without glare. And these kits, I don't mind showing them too, because I figure in a year they'll probably release this. And then you can get it. And Lord knows, I probably won't have mine done before next year. I do have to show you what I've been working on. As you know, my dear little girl is leaving for school the end of August, so I am trying to get this done. I think I'm gonna make it. I am working on, now I had the real pattern here to show you, not just my working copy, which is black and white. Plum Street Samplers, Miss Bingley's Library. I shall be miserable if I have not an excellent library. So that's what I'm doing for her to take to school, and the plan is she thinks she's going to be an English major, so I thought that was very appropriate. And I started this at StitchCon. Here's what I've got. I'm getting close. I have some of the white of the house left to do, which is good for fill-in. I have a tiny bit left in the big bowl. I have a few more leaves to put on these stems, and then the big pinky flowers. And then the British flag I've saved to last because I was excited to do that. That's going to be my reward. And there's also some steam that comes out of her teacup and steam that comes out of the chimney. So there's a little bit left to do, but I definitely will have this finished. The question is, can I either frame it myself or finish it myself or get it framed in time for her to take the end of August? I'd really like to have it all ready for her to take, so that's my goal. I keep plugging along on that. I would love to dive into some other projects that have been calling my name, but this one I knew, you know, with the deadline, I'm like, gotta keep going. Nose to the wheel, nose to the grindstone. What is it? I always mix my metaphors. Anyway, I hope you've all been well. I hope you've got lots of stitching done. Next time I hope to have more than just one item to show you of stitching that I've been doing, and I hope to have a finish to show you as well. So wish me luck with that, and I hope everybody's having a good summer, and you know, the weather is, we had a couple days that were really nice, then we had a couple so steamy and hot days, and we're gonna have some more rain, and then it's supposed to be nice next week, so I hope that's what most of you are getting. Anyway, in the meantime, hope you're all well, and I wish you all good things. Bye. One more thing. Some people commented, you know, I had done my StitchCon recap, and I was talking about my aunt, who was so wonderful to me, and I was staying with her about half an hour away from the convention center in Cincinnati, where the StitchCon was held. And I would say, you know, I'd leave there at 9:30, and I'd get to my aunt's house at 10, and she would have a full dinner ready for me, and she was pouring wine, and we'd stay up talking, and then the next morning she'd be up at 6:30 making me breakfast before I'd leave to go back to StitchCon. And she is 90. She had her 90th birthday. So somebody said, oh, I want to see a picture of your aunt. She sounds lovely. And I'm going to put a shout out to my dear Auntie Mill, because I love her so dearly. And she's fabulous. And boy, I hope I can be like her when I'm 90. I hope I look like her. I will want to be like her. We had so much fun. She wore me out. So I'm going to put a picture in here of her at her 90th birthday celebration with two of her brothers. This is my dad's sister and two of his brothers. 3 of the original 12. And I'm also going to put in a little picture her daughter had blown up, my cousin had blown up this great picture of her that was taken pretty recently when she's got her sunglasses on, and it's just great. So, mwah, love you, Auntie Mill. Bye.